Welcome to Focus on the Five, conversations with Baldwin County business leaders and entrepreneurs, brought to you by Josh Knoll of Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. And now, Josh Knoll.
Hi everyone, welcome to Focus on the Five, conversations with Baldwin County, Alabama area entrepreneurs and business leaders. I am your host, Josh Knoll of Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. We're coming to you today from the studios of WABF 1480, located in beautiful downtown Fairhope, Alabama. Today we have that special entrepreneur that actually made it. He started a healthcare company from scratch, built it into, I'm going to embarrass you now, built it into a multi-million-dollar enterprise licensed in 30 states. Is that right?
That's about right.
About right. And then you got to sell it. Every entrepreneur's dream. So, like so many entrepreneurs, apparently you couldn't sit still, right? And you jumped right back. You were probably there just enjoying the good life, playing a lot of golf, doing nothing, and you decided, well, I'm going to get back into business. Fair enough?
I don't know if I got the golden ticket, but I couldn't sit on the sidelines. I had to do something. Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, the voice you're hearing is our guest today. That is Matt Kalifeh. He is the owner of Steamatic of South Alabama, and I'm excited to introduce him as our guest today. So, Matt, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right.
Looking forward to kind of talking a little bit about what I do and how I can provide my services to the community.
Well, all right. So before we dive into that, before we dive into your new venture, we have a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners kind of watch our show, and are starting to watch the show. And part of that is I think they're looking for, we're bringing people on that are pretty successful. So how did they get started? So I wanted to ask you, the day that you started this company, your previous company, and you built it up over a number of years, 15, I believe.
15.
Right. The day after you got all the paperwork done, because a lot of people think you just sell a business and, guy shows up with a check and off you go, right?
Right.
There's a process to it.
Right.
But the day after everything went down, how'd that day feel?
I was relieved. I think the biggest thing I wasn't trying to cash out. I think that I've done a lot of reading, and I know that for my own experience, most reasons why entrepreneurs sell their business is because they want to change, a new challenge.
Right.
And so I kind of wanted to go in a new direction. So I knew that from that moment on that I wasn't done working, but it was a relief because I knew that I was getting ready to start a new chapter.
Well, in the whole scheme of things, you were very young.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, a lot of people sell a business. I have clients that sell businesses, but a lot of times they are in their 60s, maybe 70s, and they're passing it on to another generation. You were still a pretty young man in the whole scheme of things, right?
Yeah, I was our mid-40s.
Okay. All right. Just a couple years ago or so.
Yeah, a few years ago. Yeah. That's right.
All right. Well, when you sold the business or started the process of selling your past business, did you already have intentions of opening another business? And was that other business Steamatic, or was there other things on the radar?
I knew that I was going to open up another business. I didn't know exactly what it would be. I always was fascinated with service industry businesses. And so it took me a little while. I did a lot of research, a lot of reading, spoke to a lot of people, talked to some trusted counselors in my life, my CPA, who just happens to be my uncle.
That helps.
Yep. And so, just looking for opportunities out there to where I could learn something new in the service business and be able to, turn a good profit.
Well, and two, I mean, it's one thing when I wasn't there, obviously, when you built, no one was really there except you when you really started that other one. But my guess is, based on how young you were starting with next to nothing. I mean, you were starting with your bootstraps. Is that accurate?
I had zero.
Zero. You started with the power of broke is what it's called.
The power of broke. I got a bank loan and to buy my initial equipment set up.
All right.
Started off, I answered the phones. I made the delivery.
All right.
I did the paperwork and did service work.
You wore all the hats.
I did everything.
Right. You would transfer him. Hold on a second. Let me see if if he's available.
Yeah. Hey, somebody came and made a delivery. Can you come help me? And it just happened to be that was me.
That's right.
Answering the phone. So, but anyway, I started off that way, and it was good because in order to be successful, I think you've got to understand every aspect of a business.
I agree. Yeah, if you haven't had your hands in every part, a lot of times you don't mind the P's and Q's, and money bleeds away. So now when you're starting a business, you're in a completely different, reference point, and it has its own set of challenges because you started out a business before, which quite frankly you had little to lose. Is that fair to say when you first started years ago?
Yeah, that's exactly correct.
I mean, you were primed to take some risks and take some chances. You were younger. It wasn't like you had this huge nest egg you had to protect, anything like that, right?
That is correct.
So now you make that transition. How's it been so far?
Into the new business?
Yes.
It's been good. It's been a lot of fun. I have learned a tremendous amount. I have, started it similar, in a similar fashion as I did the first business, meaning that I've been doing everything.
Right.
And now I'm building a team.
Right.
I've got three employees, and but I started it for the first 6 months, and it doesn't matter what needed to be done.
Right.
And I'll still do it right now. I mean, if we're shorthanded and we've got 3 or 4 jobs going on, and I've got to get out there and rip some sheetrock out or clean a carpet or help somebody in a situation that's had a fire, I'll do it.
Well, and I think that is a key for any of you all out there that want to be serial entrepreneurs, or maybe you already consider yourself that. I think because I've done business with, I've been an entrepreneur, I have clients that are entrepreneurs. The ones that can go from one business to the next are the ones that don't get too full of themselves, and they are willing to do all jobs possible. The ones that tend to sometimes have a problem, the statement always comes out, well, I used to have to do that, I don't have to do that anymore. When you're starting a new business, it's like a baby. Mentorship, if you probably had mentors anyway, but you maybe didn't have specific mentorship in that particular line of work. So if you were going to jump off on your own, you could either go out there and just fake it till you make it and probably burn a bunch of cash in the process, or look into a franchise. So you said you went to Dallas, Fort Worth area, met with the owners of Steamatic, were impressed with them. So now you've decided to do business with them. You've been in business for a while. Let's dive into what you do.
What do I do?
Yeah, what is the $1 million question? What does Steamatic do?
Well, Steamatic is, I look at it as we have 2 divisions.
All right.
So I look at the restoration division, and then we have a cleaning division. So what does the restoration side do? We specialize in helping people recover from disasters like water and fire.
Okay.
And smoke. And then we also do mold remediation. Mold is just a byproduct of somebody having a water leak. Right. And they end up finding some visible signs of mold, and we have to come in and remediate. And that's a big deal right now.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, in the South.
Especially down here.
There's so much humidity, so much moisture, so much rain. And people are genuinely concerned about having mold in their homes because, the spores are small, and there's a lot of people that have compromised immune systems.
Right.
And so, they want to get it out of their home in the right fashion.
Right.
So we'll come in there and we will remediate, we'll evaluate and remediate. We don't test, do air quality testing, because that would be a conflict. Because if we came in and we did a test, then remediated it, then we would pass ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You say, "Oh, this is horrible."
Yeah.
You could be like the guys that sell the vacuum, right? Where
Yeah.
They dump all the junk on your carpet, and then they vacuum. Like, look, it looks great. I'm like, no, it looks like it looked before you dumped all that junk on my carpet.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
That's
all
right.
I'm getting it.
Yeah. So that's kind of a little thumbnail on the mold. Water. There's probably 450 water claims a month in Mobile and Baldwin County. People don't really realize that. This morning, I get a call at 6:24. And this guy calls and he says, "Hey, I woke up and I've got standing water in my house. There's a pipe that's burst."
Oh, shoot. Okay.
And so I was like, "I'll be there in an hour and a half." So I get my crew, round them up. We all meet at the office and just go straight to this man's home and help him in this disaster situation.
Right.
And so that is, and there's certain techniques that you use in order to be able to dry somebody's home out properly.
Right.
And then the fire aspect, fire and mold remediate, restoration. Fire is devastating. that is something that is pretty straightforward. If something's burnt and charred, you pull it out. The biggest challenge in fire is smoke.
Okay.
Smoke is like, it gets, the smell gets everywhere,
Right.
soot gets everywhere. So it takes a lot of work to be able to identify where it's coming from, whether it's a pocket in the attic that's trapped the air and it's still just seeping out into the home, or it's
Right.
the air duct system. I mean, it's just, so there's a lot of things you got to do. So, and there's a psychological factor.
Yes.
When you smell it, it's you're like, oh my gosh, and it just sticks in the customer's head.
I agree.
And it's just somebody,
I feel like there's a fire in the attic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
always.
especially if you have kids. You're like, come on.
I still smell smoke. I still
Right.
smell smoke. Well, you
Right.
might not smell it, but you got to realize that it's real,
Right.
and you continue to restore until it's gone. So that's the restoration side. Cleaning side is, we do carpet cleaning, we do tile cleaning, we do those types of things as far as textiles.
Now, when you say carpet and tile cleaning, you're not talking normal, like my wife makes me spray everything with Tilex and wipe it. It's not that. You're talking stuff that
Steam cleaning.
You're going deep.
It's hot water extraction. We have state-of-the-art equipment that
Right.
essentially heats the water up, or the steam, to 245 degrees.
Okay.
It has pressure up to 900 psi.
Pet spills, things like that.
Pet spills, that's right. And so the reason why we do the cleaning is because, number one, if you want to be a good restoration company, you better know how to clean.
Amen, brother.
So, water creates a lot of issues. Smoke creates a lot of issues. So we're always cleaning. So it's a natural adjunct to what we're doing.
Well, I would think in the restoration business, you are A to Z on that stuff anyway. They want it to look as good as new, or possibly even a little better at times. Is that accurate?
Sometimes after we come in, not only do we restore people's homes from the smoke and the water damage, we actually rebuild them.
Right.
And so that's kind of a nice little twist that we do that not all restoration companies do. We have a general contractor that is a partner, and he that gives us the ability to rebuild homes, residential and commercial homes.
Okay.
At residential facilities, commercial homes, after they've been destroyed. So we don't not only do we tear it up, we rebuild it.
Well, so correct me if I'm wrong, I was in the construction business, but I didn't do any restoration. And this was years ago, so I've forgotten half of it anyway. But most of the just true restoration stuff, technically they're supposed to kind of bring it back to spec. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
We will bring it back to its pre-disaster condition.
Okay. But then with the additional remodeling services, you've basically got an extra service you can offer there that can take it, again, as good as new or possibly even better.
A lot of times we will come in, let's say, for instance, it's a sand and finished wood floor.
Mm-hmm.
It's 13 years old, and
Right.
they've had water damage.
Right.
Well,
Right.
when we leave, it's going to look better than when we got there.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So,
Fresh coat of paint.
right.
So it looks, a lot of times it looks better than when
Well,
we
and
leave.
to be fair, anybody that's had, not a burst pipe is one thing, but anybody that's had have had major flooding, has had fire damage, has had smoke damage, man, there's a psychological toll to it. And if you get all this work done and you spend all this money and you got your deductibles and all that, and it doesn't look as good or doesn't look significantly better, you're going to be like, oh man, this thing's ruined forever. It's kind of like getting a car dent. You know? You get the fender fixed.
Yeah.
If they do it perfect, you're like, okay, no big deal. But if you can tell, it drives you nuts.
Yeah, every time you look at it, you're like, man, it just doesn't look right.
Right. So you're under the gun. You come in there, man. You got to make that thing look as good or better than new.
That's right. And I look at it like it's my home. I know it's a cliche, but it's true.
Right.
I think every good entrepreneur is going to treat every situation like it's yours.
Right.
Like it's a family member or a good friend.
Have ownership and have empathy.
Yeah.
I found that has gone a long way in my line of work and the entrepreneurs that I also deal with. Well, all right. So you are in, I would think, especially down here in South Alabama, you have got an unbelievable amount of constant humidity. We get quite a few, we get a lot of rain, we got a lot of water running. So I'm assuming you have plenty of opportunities for people to call you on these things. But I would think also you have a very competitive industry that you're in. So how do you find your opportunities? Are they insurance companies that reach out to you? Are they individuals? When does Steamatic come on the scene? How do they show up? How do people find
It's
you?
a combination.
Okay.
It's a combination of everything. A lot of insurance companies have a management company called a third-party administrator, TPA, and they will administer the services for some of the major insurance companies.
Okay.
So if you have a loss, you might call a 1-800 number that would be your insurance company.
Right.
That is routed to a TPA.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and
I'll be daggone.
that TPA has multiple contractors on their list who have been
Vetted, I would think.
vetted.
Yeah,
exactly.
licensed, insured.
Yes, make sure
Right.
that they are up to speed. That you're not just getting somebody that's subpar.
Right.
And so, and then usually they'll go on a rotating basis. So they might have 4 or 5 contractors in Mobile and Baldwin County, and they'll just kind of rotate people into the mix. So that's one way that we get business, because we are on a TPA that manages a lot of State Farm claims, a lot of Allstate claims, some of the bigger carriers.
Right.
Word of mouth is very big, and the internet. The
Okay.
internet's huge. So when people are in an emergency situation, a lot of times they won't call that 1-800 number.
No Google.
They are going to Google
Amen.
water.
Thank you.
Water. Bursted pipe. Need help.
My broker dealer. Are you hearing this?
Yeah.
They Google.
And so
They don't call their neighbor anymore. They don't look for a postcard. They Google.
They Google.
Thank you.
So I'd say half of the business is probably from that.
Oh, I want to jump back on that. Let me do a little station identification here.
Okay.
If you're just joining us, this is Josh Knoll with Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. You're listening to Focus on the 5, conversations with Baldwin County, Alabama entrepreneurs. We're joined today by Matt Kalifeh, the owner of Steamatic of South Alabama. All right, Matt, I was hoping you would want to go down that path, but I didn't want to necessarily jump there because I am a big SEO and search and Google and video marketing nerd. So you said they Google to find these services. Now obviously Steamatic's going to have some kind of a presence with the franchise and the national standing, but how did you start working your way up the food chain locally to start capturing some of those opportunities?
I first contracted with a very good SEO, SEM company.
Okay. You can name drop here.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe I'll have them on sometime.
Yeah, I mean, John Sparks owns a company
All right.
in Mobile called SEM, SEO Specialist. I had a website before I met him,
Mm-hmm.
and he essentially said, I'll take it over.
He politely said, "This is not going to work."
It's good, but not great.
Got it. All
So he ended up building us an SEM campaign. So that's Google pay-per-click.
Okay.
And then that is what you have to do to get immediate results. And then SEO takes a little bit longer. And so as your site is more seasoned, and then you're in the business longer,
Right.
it just kind of gradually moves up into the higher rankings.
Right.
And so that's
And I can't say this for certain. It's not like I've got Google figured out. We just work. We spend we put a lot of attention into it. But I think increasingly over the past several months, maybe a year, a local location, a physical location, has become more and more important. Right. So
Yeah.
I would think. Can you discriminately see results pop? People come in. Is it obvious where the lead is coming from? Is it Fairhope, Daphne, Spanish Fort? Are you able to? Was a noticeable difference when you went that direction with the SEM company from the quality of lead and the profitability and things like that versus just trying to figure it out on your own?
every single client that I get, I always look at them and say, "How did you find out about me?"
Love it.
Because it's just important to me. And so, yes, I can. My customer acquisition cost, I try to kind of keep an eye on that, which is really important. But yeah, the quality of, for instance, there are some services like Home Advisor which are effective, but it's not an exclusive lead.
Right.
There might be 5 companies that are notified or 3 for the same service.
Right.
So that's a little bit more difficult to acquire a customer that way. But when it's a one-on-one relationship, that's what you're looking for.
I couldn't agree more. Well, all right. So how your office is in Daphne? How are you set up from a office standpoint and a crew standpoint? Is it mostly function as a general contractor? or is it everybody in house? How is the office set up and the crew and all that?
Everybody on our staff is certified with a company called IICRC to do water restoration work.
Wow. Okay. All right.
And I'm personally certified in a lot of other things, water, advanced techniques in drying, mold remediation, and fire and smoke. So what we do is that means that we can all do everything.
Right.
And also one of my staff members is done insurance adjusting work for 8 years.
That has to help a lot.
It's huge.
Yeah, I mean that really is a difference maker.
Yeah.
I think.
When he steps into one of our clients' homes, he's looking at it just as your insurance company would.
Right.
And he is an advocate for the homeowner. And it's just a lot of companies that are in this industry might have that subbed out.
Right.
So this might be done at a home office. So the technician might come in, take pictures and measurements, and send all that up to a corporate office.
Right.
That's the difference between going local,
yes,
and going with somebody that is, that's, national, that's kind of been, corporatized. Is that the right word?
I mean, there's just, even in our society with technology and the ease of flow of information and things like that, there is still something to be said for having a local presence, somebody that knows their way around town, that can find your house, maybe not even having to look it up on a map, just knows where that is, and kind of knows what he's getting into, the history of the area. I mean, that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, just to be honest with you, Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, why would I exist if local didn't matter a little bit, right?
Yeah, you could just do it online.
Yeah, you just do it online. You could probably just go and do, Schwab.com, and they wouldn't need it. So I totally agree with you on that. This is a fun part here, and I didn't put it on your outline because I wanted to catch you by surprise. Lori thinks I should give you a heads up. But if the present day Matt could go back and visit with the young Matt that was about to start his journey on all this stuff, what would he have told him? What's one or two little nuggets he would have? Because I mean, somebody's gonna ask me someday, and I'm like, I hope you got a couple hours to sit and listen.
Yeah.
So I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
But what's a couple of things that you would have, not that you would have done different, but just it'd been nice to know ahead of time?
Yeah. That's a tough question. I think that you want results so fast, and there's so much anxiety that you have right at this moment.
Right.
And if you could just see what it's going to be like in 12 months or 24 months, that way you could take a deep breath and say, you know what, I'm not always going to be struggling.
Right.
I think I would just probably tell my younger self, just take a deep breath.
Yep.
Work as hard as you can today. And if you do that and do the best that you possibly can do, tomorrow's going to be okay.
Right.
And
it's going to work out all right, kid.
It's going to work out all right.
Right.
And if it might not work out exactly like you think it's going to work out.
I promise you it won't.
But that's okay.
Right.
Because we just going to have, you just have to be adaptable.
Right. Right. And, we always joke, but my grandpa would say, make God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean to sit there and let fate totally take over, but understand that, especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur, that the crystal clear path that you see in front of you is probably not the one you're going to walk. But as long as you're willing to keep moving forward and be willing to give at least 100%. Because I don't know about you. I think one of the great lessons I learned from being a business owner and entrepreneur was that 85% of me or 90% of me was not good enough. It was just not good enough.
Yeah.
If I gave 85, 90% of me physically, mentally, emotionally, time-wise, all that, I never got as where I wanted to get, how I wanted to get there, as fast as I wanted to get there. Right? The only way that I was able to do some of the things we've done in the past was 100% and even beyond what I thought was capable. Right.
Right.
And I can promise you that in doing so, the path that I thought I was going on ended up being a wildly different path. It's but we may have ended up where we thought. I don't know if you ever, when you started your previous company, if you had dreams or designs of selling it, right? Mm-hmm. But as the years went on, that picture probably became more and more clear. Hey, I've got something of value here. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it is fair to say. And I think when you talk about a winding path, what you're saying is you have to be work hard and be adaptable.
Be adaptable.
I mean, you might think that you're going to make $1 million a year selling this or doing that.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're like, that's not going to work.
Or that's not where my talent is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's not where my talent. That's not going to work. The market doesn't want that.
Right.
And then you adapt to what's really happening here. And I just, that's probably a common theme with successful entrepreneurs.
I agree. Yeah, if you are rigid and I think there are two broad types of people: those who can adapt to change and those that struggle with it. Nothing wrong with either one, but as an entrepreneur, you better be ready. You better be on the balls of your feet all the time. I think
that's right.
Yep. Unless you're just one of the truly. I mean, there are guys out there and women that it's like, wow, But I don't know about you, but I've had to scratch and claw a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nothing has ever been given to me.
Understood. All right. Well, let's talk about, as we wrap up, where are you? Where is Steamatic, South Alabama? Where are you physically located? How do people get a hold of you? Go ahead and give us the rundown there.
Yeah, we are physically located in Daphne at 25421 State Highway 181.
All right.
Suite 103. And my telephone number is 251-929-4959. Email is mlk@steamatic.com. So I can be reached on any one of those spots. And we service Mobile and Baldwin County.
Okay.
And so it's a pretty big territory, but we're willing to do it.
Well, you've done great so far. The business is going.
I'm very fortunate. Things are growing at a very, very rapid pace. And we have not been in business but a little bit over a year.
All right.
And but I've got a lot of experience on the staff.
Right.
And that helps. And I told you my insurance adjuster is coming from a background of 8 years worth of experience.
Right.
And so anyway, that's where we're at, and that's what been very fortunate. It's grown at a very nice pace. Oh,
that's wonderful. Well, on that note, I want to add that any of you all out there watching, I always forget where all the cameras are.
Yeah.
Over there too. Any of you all watching this video, you can reach out to either Matt or myself via direct message. The video will be posted on all kinds of different platforms that we have. Lastly, if you're a Baldwin County area entrepreneur or business owner and you'd like to market your services over multiple platforms and pretty much all demographics at this point, I think we're hitting all points at this, just reach out to us. You will find my contact info at the end of the show in my overly long and melodramatic financial advisor disclosure. Do you remember those days?
I had my Series 7 and all the other licenses, but I never actually sold. I was more of an advisory capacity with the bank.
When you get to watch this show, listen to that. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And fortunately, my good friend Mike Romano is the one that put it together. So he sounds awesome, but it's kind of silly. But it's what we got to do. So, all right, folks, again, this has been Josh Knoll with Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. You've been listening to Focus on the Five. I would like to thank my guest, Matt Kalifeh of Steamatic, South Alabama, and I want you all to have a fantastic day. We will see you next week. Thank you very much, Matt. You did a fantastic job.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you for listening to Focus on the Five. If you are interested in learning more about Josh Knoll and Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, you can find us at gulfcoastfa.com, call 251-327-2124, email josh.knoll@gulfcoastfa.com, or message us on Facebook. Focus on the Five is produced by Josh Knoll of Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. Advisory services offered through Investment Advisors, a division of Pro Equities Inc., a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Pro Equities Inc., a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA and SIPC. Gulf Coast Financial Advisors is independent of Pro Equities Inc. Information presented is for educational purposes only and is not an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Focus on the Five offers commentary and generalized research, not personalized investment advice. Show content is for informational purposes only and does not constitute a complete description of our investment services or performance. All investments involve risk and unless otherwise stated are not guaranteed. Be sure to consult a tax professional before implementing any investment strategy.